we're looking at the only surviving sibling of Rollie and Al Beale, yes?
Yep.
What are some of your earliest memories of Rollie Beale? I know he was a little older than you, yeah, quite a bit.
4?
4 years, is that all? Okay.
About 4 years, because Rollie and then my sister Boots, they were 2 years apart. And then Boots and I were 2 years apart. And then Al and I were 2 years apart.
Gotcha.
Yeah. My earliest recollection of Rollie is, I won't go too far back, but we lived on Suter Avenue at this, it's called, it's an older house, and there was an apartment above the house. And I could just see Rollie out in that barn working on his first race car. And he was like 17 years old. I think, I'm not sure, but I think he might have started working at the Shoreline Railroad around that time or soon after. My little grandpa, we call him, he's from England. He worked on the Shoreline Railroad and he got Rollie in.
Your grandfather was from England?
My dad's father and mother were from England.
Really?
Yes, London. So we grew up with a lot of tales from London, England.
Yeah.
A lot of tea.
Yeah. So I learned from his sister Esther, that would be Rollie's only surviving sibling, that when the kids were really small in grade school, they attended a one-room schoolhouse that was located right here on the northeast corner of Suter Avenue and Stearns Road. Now the schoolhouse is long gone, but can you imagine all those kids packed into one room, all the grades in one room? Many of the lessons were recited out loud. There wasn't a lot of money during the Great Depression, not a lot of money for school supplies, books, paper, pens, and pencils. So they would do their reading, writing, and arithmetic right out loud, and that's where it happened. I just thought that was a really cool nugget of history. Rollie eventually moved off to Shoreland Grade School just up the road where he finished. He did make it to Whitmer High School in Toledo, Ohio, but only for about 6 weeks. He then decided it was time to go to work. A little schoolhouse that once sat here that helped educate the mind of Rollie Beale. Do you remember being in that schoolhouse with Rollie?
I do.
I mean, back then, weren't all the grades kind of jammed together in one room?
Yeah. We had a potbelly stove in the back.
That is fascinating.
And then there was another room in the back that was like an activity room. But as far as I remember, I was the only one in the 4th grade.
Small class.
I don't know. My sister probably will. If Rollie was in the 8th grade with a friend, Eddie Vadeberg, they both sat with their knees sticking out because they couldn't put their knees under the sink. They had to keep their knees up.
They were too big for the chair.
Yeah, they were too tall. So, I remember that. Yeah. He was a hard worker, though, I'll tell you.
He was.
I seen that kid lift up a bale of hay and put it on a truck.
We're talking Rollie.
Rollie, yes. Yeah. He got a job right next to our house. They were baling the hay, and he was picking up the hay, either putting it on the truck or putting it in piles for them to pick up.
When he started racing, though, did you then start paying attention to what he was doing, or did that interest you, that part of Rollie's world?
Yeah. Our whole family was always at those meetings. Mother, father, sisters, not the meetings, but the races.
I gotcha.
Yeah, at the races. So my dad was a pit steward. Al raced, Rollie raced. So yeah, we were always there.
That was a great era of racing through the 1950s. I think the greatest era through the 1950s and the 1960s. To me, the sport had so much more personality because when a driver straps in today, whether it's a NASCAR or even a sprint car, you can't see them anymore.
No.
They're covered up. You might, in a sprint car, you might, with all the panels, see the little bubble of their helmet. But back in Rollie's day, they wore those open-face leather Cromwell helmets, and you could actually see the expressions on their face. They didn't wear fireproof gear either.
Well, it was more of a personal, everybody was involved. All the families were involved, and it was a sport that we all got interested in too. So it was more personal, family thing. So I'm all for family. I don't think there's much family going on today like there was then, you know.
Sure.
So,
Did you know? I mean, your brother Rollie became a local superstar,
uh-huh.
you know, and a hero and an idol for so many. What was he to you? Your brother, obviously, but
Yeah. I was very proud of him. I think at that time I just figured out what it meant to be proud of someone, you know. And you didn't have to know a lot about racing to know that he was good.
the way he grew in popularity around here. I mean, he really was a local superstar. He was my childhood hero, you know, and I'm not, you know, painting him as this perfect man, but for a little kid, he was, you know.
How old were you then?
I started learning about Raleigh when I was like 4 or 5 years old because my neighbor would down the street would take us to Fremont Speedway,
Oh
and
yeah.
we knew Raleigh was from Toledo. I was just a little kid, and I my dream in life was to meet Rollie Beale, you know. And then by the time we got to Fremont, though, in the mid '60s, he had already moved on to USAC and IMCA. And I
Oh.
remember the neighbor saying, "Well, he's kind of moved on to the big time now." And I was so
Uh,
upset
oh,
that I wasn't going to meet Rollie Beale. And as fate would have it, my mother gets divorced, which is a traumatic thing for an 8-year-old kid by then.
yeah.
She ends up marrying the guy that owns his USAC sprint car, the rodeo bar
Yeah.
car. That was my stepdad.
They
It
were.
was the most amazing thing, you know, to be thrust into the right smack dab front and center into the world of the USAC National Sprint Car Tour
In your world too.
and Rollie Beale, you know.
Yeah.
But every time he said my name, I had a hard time processing that Rollie Beale knew my name or that I was even standing in the same room with him. I mean, it was a magical time.
I think he's got a lot of people that look up to him. My son, my oldest son, in Florida, that's his. That's his mentor, and that's everything to him.
Because didn't you do a little powder puff racing yourself?
Yeah, I
I
started
mean, that was
out.
a rare thing.
Yeah, I started out doing the. I don't know what.
Oh, demolition derby?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you did that?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But something grabbed you because you started racing, yes? Beyond the demolition derby?
Yeah. Well, I raced up in Wasion.
You say you won the race?
Yeah, I did. I won. I think it was the championship, but just because it was that night was the championship, I guess.
As is often the case, like I have two daughters and they're completely opposite. They could not be farther apart
Oh yeah.
in everything, in mind and soul,
Uh
and
huh.
personality and looks, every character, everything about them is different. Was that not true with Al and Raleigh?
Al and Raleigh they were opposites too. I think Al had different interests than Raleigh.
Yeah.
Raleigh was the type of guy that, he got a job and he retired from that job.
I know, all those decades on the railroad.
Yeah, but he always gave his all, and he always had people's backs, and he was always loyal. That's how I see him. He would protect his family. I don't think he was real close to my dad, but I think he was favored mom.
Was he more like his mom than his dad, would you say?
I think my dad was more like Al. Al and my dad were alike, and he was a little more like my mom.
Raleigh was.
Raleigh I would
Yeah.
say. But my mom was a good mom, and she was interested in her kids.
Yeah.
The racing, we always went.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Did you look forward to going to the races?
oh, we loved it.
Yeah,
I
I'll bet.
I tell you, I compare the first race, to start your cars, with taking off on a big jet.
Yeah.
That anticipation, because I flew a lot, I got that same chill that I got when they'd start their cars and race.
Yeah.
The first race.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the races. Yeah.
And back in that era, 50s and 60s, there were a lot of men that died in race cars. Did you ever, I mean, you had to know that. Did you fear for your brother's life? Was that something that you worried about?
Always scared. Yeah, because I always was sitting next to my mom.
Oh,
who stiffened up,
yeah, I'll bet.
And then we did know, like Kenny Niemeyer died in the race.
Mm-hmm.
Rusty Kelly,
Both at Raceway Park.
he died too.
Yeah.
He burned. It was a fire, wasn't it?
Yes, Rusty Kelly died in a fire. Yeah.
Okay, that was at the south end of the track, right? Because we were pulling in when he was still in the car. We were pulling into park. Before he died, we met for a breakfast sometime over on Secor, and then I would call him to talk to him, and I would never let him get off that phone. I would say, "I love you," and he wouldn't say anything. I'd say, "I love you," and then he'd say it.
Oh, that's so cool.
That is what I remember, and then I never saw him again.
Oh.
Yeah, I do remember though, I had to tell him a couple times that I love you so that he could say it.
That is so cool.
Yep.
It's probably, big tough Rollie Beale, race car driver, railroad guy, arms of steel. It was hard to squeeze that sort of emotion out of him,
Yeah.
But you got it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Because I wasn't going to hang that phone up until I
Good
heard
for
him
you.
say it.
Good for you.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was hard. I remember Raleigh. We were at Toledo Speedway late in his life once. And, I couldn't really, I had heard that he might have had some symptoms of dementia, but I couldn't tell. He still knew me and called me by my name, so I didn't
talked
see
to him
it.
at night too.
But one day he did get me off to the side and asked me about another driver that was standing, I don't know, 30 feet away, and said, who is that guy? I know him, but who is that, And I had to tell him that it's Todd Gibson. In case they talked, he wanted to make sure that, and that was a kind of a tender moment for me when Raleigh was asking
That
me.
had to hurt.
It did, I guess a little, but I loved Raleigh, so it didn't matter to me,
Oh, no, not that way, but just as you could see him lose that
I understand, yeah.
bigness of him.
Yeah, the big, or just when he took his final breath, that big man, the last breath going out of that big man. What a moment for a lot of people. And again, I know he wasn't a perfect man, but he was to a lot of people. And a lot of people growing up. He had a lot of people that worshipped him.
Yeah, he had the good qualities.
I tell you what, they called it the Rollie Beale Bunch. He had a fan base that was off the chart. He was doing it right, the way he connected with the fans, because the people adored him.
Oh, they did. And
I
don't think he really knew how big it was. I mean, how many people, but I hear people, I don't know who they are, that know Raleigh real well.
Well, I'll tell you, I put up the first video, part 1 of the Rollie Beale Story, and it's getting a gazillion comments, because what that does is it resurrects memories in people. And they start telling me about how he took time to talk to them under the grandstands at Toledo Raceway Park, and he stayed around forever just so they could talk to him, and all these memories come back, and people are spilling it out on the social media channels. And that's one of the reasons I love doing this, is because it resurrects great memories in people, and they love sharing them, and I love hearing it.
It with what's going on today.
Oh God.
People are not remembering the good stuff. They're remembering. I always looked at Raleigh, even as a kid, as a big guy. He was just a big guy.
He was a big, brawny guy. He was the kind of guy that he should have been on the, brawny paper towel ad or something. I mean, he had those arms of steel, and he was solid as a rock, and he was a real man's man,
Yeah, that's what he was. Now, Al was not.
Right.
Al was a woman's man.
Oh Lord, he was a ladies' man.
Oh my gosh, Al, he's so.
He was
so spoiled.
Was he?
Oh gosh, my grandma Beale, my mom, us two girls. You do the baby, and he was such a cute kid.
He had this dry sense of humor. He was so funny. I never laughed so hard in my life than riding down the I-75 with Al
Quick,
Beale.
right? Quick.
Oh, he was witty, he was quick, he was funny. I loved him,
Yeah.
as I did Rollie, but I loved Al too.
Well,
They were both special
love,
to me.
You gotta love everybody different.
Sure.
That's just the way it is, you know. Yeah. We had one of the most normal life. Yes, our life was so normal. Every Sunday was at Grandma's for dinner. It was just one of those, and maybe it wasn't perfect, but I mean we were there every Sunday for dinner. In fact, if I could get that house out in Shoreland,
you'd buy it.
Well, I won't tell you what I say, because I think you'll cut it out anyway. But I said,
don't count on that. Don't count on that.
I said, oh, are you under there? Oh,
nah, she's fine.
I always said, oh, I'll just become a streetwalker to get the money. It's awful. Did anybody tell you how old I am?
Did not.
I'm 1 year away from 90.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, so you look fabulous.
I know.
You really do.
I know.
You do look good.
No, not look so much as active.
Yeah. You look, to me, honestly, you look exceptionally youthful.
It's because I acted too.
Well, that's good for you. I see a lot of 88, 89-year-old people who can't take their next step, let alone lift themselves from a chair. But
no, I still drive.
You look fantastic. Any secrets to longevity?
One of the things about inside is that I have tremendous bone structure.
Strong bones.
Very strong.
Wow.
And I know I had a Japanese doctor. He just talked so much about my bones, So I've never broke a bone. I did break a collarbone when I was like 4 or 5. Rollie shook the fence.
So if you
want to put that in there, you can.
Wait a minute. You broke your collarbone because Rollie did
I
what?
I was climbing the fence and he shook it.
Oh, and you fell off?
And I fell off and I broke my collarbone.
That was a Rollie Beale memory that no
one's
heard.
Yeah, I don't know why he did that. He couldn't have disliked me then.
Because he's a boy. So your longevity, you're kind of associating it with DNA and genes, and I get that. But any other secrets? Are you careful what you eat? Do you?
Well, that's probably true. I love vegetables. I love fruit. I'm not a big beef eater.
That's probably smart.
Yeah, it's not that I do eat meat. It's not that, but my motto is if you don't have anything pressing you to do, rest. Take it easy. Sit down. Put your feet up. Read. Do your tablet. Whatever. And if you're sick, go to bed and sleep it off, because you heal when you're sleeping. That's how I've looked at life.
So sleep is exceptionally important.
Very important.
Yeah.
I
need to get with that program. Do you
Well,
feel stress a lot? Like tension, stress, anxiety?
mostly at the later days.
Yeah.
Not when I was young, because
Sure.
I let things roll off my back.
Is it harder to roll it off your back?
Now
No?
it is.
Yeah.
Because I can't understand why we can't live like we did in the 40s.
Oh, that's a very good question. If the values
Yeah.
of Americans back then, I mean, we weren't killing each other at Walmart. That didn't happen in the 40s.
Oh, we didn't even have Walmart.
Well, that too. But what is going on? Why can't we live with those good old-fashioned American values like we did in the 40s and 50s, when people really cared about their neighbors and courtesy and manners and all that mattered? And I know it still does, but we're going down the wrong road.
Oh, and my kids keep saying, "Mom, please stop living in the past." And I said, "Why? That was my happiest time. Why would I not think of that? I was happy back then. I wasn't scared to walk down a path or a woods or, or get in my bike and ride all around. I was very active then. With, I can't, I won't accept the time right now. I don't accept it. It's not
I
my
understand.
time.
I understand completely. It's hard to accept when you turn on the evening news. I find myself turning it off because I don't want to see it anymore.
I don't even
it
put it
upsets
on.
me. It upsets me. I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't even put it on, and
Do you miss your brother Rollie?
oh yeah, well, I don't think everybody knows how it is to be the only one left. It's very, very, very hard.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it's so unfair, but that's life. So what are you gonna do? But yeah, I miss my whole family.
I'm sure.
Yeah, just hard,
Yeah. What you wouldn't give to sit down and have one more conversation with Rollie Beale.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I would have a different one now because I would look at him different now,
Sure.
because he did the railroad, he did the racing. I mean, he traveled. He did. I think he even went out east about a movie, didn't he?
Probably.
What was that one with the two guys in the race? North Carolina, was it, or?
Not sure.
Yeah, well, I have a picture of it with the actors and Anime and Raleigh and all that. But
Would you make Rollie tell you that he loved you again?
oh yeah, oh that's gonna be my thing.
He's not getting out of that one, is he?
That's my thing.
Yeah.
That's it, because I know how hard it must be for him to say that.
Sure.
And it's very hard to go past Shoreline Railroad, and I don't care if anyone thinks I'm nuts or not, but I talk to him. I just say, hey, Raleigh.
I think that's neat.
Hi, Raleigh.
I love that.
Then I'll start crying and tell him I'm sorry you're gone and stuff like that. But yeah, I do that with him. But he was a unique man, very unique.